Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife video for you today. We have my top 5 Microtechs ranked. I've done a few of these ranked videos, and I have to say, this one was the most difficult. This is a brand I've not been into for a super long time, but really have gone pretty crazy about, honestly. I have a lot of Microtechs. I really enjoy them. I've kind of gotten into autos, and, with OTFs, Microtech is kind of, the godfather, whatever you want to call them, of OTFs, and I've really gotten into them a whole lot. But you'll see in here, I think, yeah, a lot of the majority of the knives in here are not OTFs, so kind of funny. But before we get going, I do want to thank somebody, Southern Edges, southernedges.com. Go to their website. Here's the link down there. I get no kickback or anything like that, but they are definitely where I buy most of my Microtechs from because they have, I think, the best Microtech selection on the internet by far, especially of the more rare, quirky stuff. And they did loan me some knives for this video, so I do very much appreciate them doing that. So yeah, go check them out. Southern Edges. I also want to thank one of my viewers, Jeremy Russell. I'm gonna link to his Instagram down below. It's like Freak Show EDC or something like that on Instagram. I'm gonna link to that down below. Go check him out. He loaned me probably the rarest one on here, and I extremely very much appreciate that. Still hope I'm going to be able to buy it from him, but I think he's going to want it back pretty soon. And I've been investing a lot in equipment and stuff, so hopefully this sounds better and the lighting's better than it has been in previous videos. But thank you very much, Jeremy, for loaning me that. So I'm going to put these aside. This is a cool Microtech patch that I also believe Jeremy Russell sent me a while ago. Somebody sent it to me. I think it was him. I'm not really sure. If it wasn't, I apologize to the person that sent it to me. I have a cool Microtech sticker as well, but that is on my truck, so I couldn't fit the truck on the desk. It doesn't work that way. So let's get going. These are my top 5 Microtechs ranked. I have experienced other ones that aren't on here, so I apologize if your favorite one isn't on here. They're not going by historical significance or anything like that. Not like top 5 of all time, just my personal favorite top 5 Microtechs. So let's get going. First one is the one that Jeremy loaned me. This is the Stitch. It's an out the side auto, which I know modern Microtech is not known for that. We'll talk more about that in another knife coming up. But it's insane looking. It's big. It's badass. It kicks so hard. I will say, like, when you fire this thing, you feel it like in your wrist. Like it just hits so hard. I don't know why that hole is there. I don't understand that, but it just makes it look more badass, I guess. But ergos are outstanding. It's an outstanding knife to use. Jeremy has sharpened this, but other than this, it is pretty stock. You're looking at about $400 for one of these if you can find one. It is one that they make very rarely. It does seem one of the Microtechs that's a bit harder to get to. And I will say about that Microtech, I did this in my little Microtech buyer's guide, OTF buyer's guide a while ago, just to say that Microtech is a brand that they're not as expensive as you think, but they are kind of hard to get your hands on. So do keep that in mind. If you find one that's close to the specification that you want and you don't want to wait another year, you should probably just buy it because they do them in batches and whatever. But this is one that doesn't come out super often, but it does take up your entire pocket. And it is a bit heavy for an aluminum handle. Not all of these are aluminum handle. It's just, but I just love it so much. It's so crazy, insane looking. As insane as I like to get to. This one is M390. It's another Microtech thing. They're always some variant of M390-ish sort of analog, but it depends on when you got it. This one was made in November of last year. But man, October of last year. Brian doesn't know months. But yeah, I love this Stitch so much. It's only not higher up the list because it is kind of it's a bit extreme. It's not something I've had this for a month or so now, and it's not something I like to carry every day. It does take up your whole pocket because when you close it, it is very, very tall in the pocket. It's like Spyderco Mannix 2 or bigger, kind of experience in your pocket. Bigger, honestly. But yeah, love the Stitch, but still winds up number 5. So next up, actually, the original Microtech. Everybody, and myself included, when I first got Microtechs, I thought about them as OTFs, but the first one was this, the LUDT. This is a newer one. I assure you it is in my hand. I know it blends in with the background extremely well. I probably should have used another color background for this, but alas, I did not. This is awesome. The LUDT is such a cool knife. Again, kicks really hard for an out the side. Not quite as much as the Stitch, but still pretty hefty. But a great EDC knife, super slicey, very thin behind the edge. If I recall correctly, I don't have my notes in front of me. I do believe it's like 13 or 14 thousandths behind the edge. This one again is M390, super slicey. Got this in purple. You can get them in all kinds of different colors. The Stitch is a bit of a variant, unless you want to go with the crazy Marfione custom ones. So I'm going to give you prices for the production ones, but do keep in mind for every one of these, there's a Marfione custom that is insane. You know, they are grand and up, and they're worth it. They're beautiful, but you know, just keep that in mind. I'm giving you the production prices, which is about $250 for one of these, which I think is a bargain. I really do. Competes very well with a lot of Protechs. If you're looking at ProTech out the sides, it's still pretty easy to close with one hand. That's another thing with the Stitch. The Stitch is a bit difficult to close with one hand. This one is super easy to close with one hand. It's, if you're in a place where you can EDC an auto, this is an excellent auto to EDC. LUDT is underwater demolition team thing. Large underwater demolition team for this one. And yeah, but this is the first Microtech. These out the side ones for underwater demolition people were the first Microtechs, so it's kind of a cool thing to have. I do really love the LUDT, but it's only at number 4. I tell you, this one was so hard. This and the next knife that you're gonna see, I literally flipped a coin. And number 1 and 2, I literally flipped a coin because I could not decide. So yeah, this is at number 4 instead of 3 because of a coin flip. So, what is number 3? That would be the Socom Elite Manual. This is the Tanto version. I did a video about this where I talked about it taking me 14 months to find this knife. I wanted to find this exact configuration. Metal Complex loaned me his Socom Elite Manual. I loved it. It was not the blade shape I would have wanted, and he wouldn't sell it to me anyway. So, because his wife gave it to him. Fair enough, whatever. So I hunted around. I wanted to find the Tanto with this blade finish and just plain black handle. Again, Socom Elites come in a whole bunch of different color schemes, and they come in a lot of the Marfione customs. This is the manual. I prefer the manual. There is an auto that, again, kicks like a mule, just like the LUDT and the Stitch, probably closer to the Stitch, honestly. They kick really hard, and that's cool, but I do just like the manual because it makes, first of all, it's, how smooth is that? That is amazing, and it makes this sound. It's the best sounding knife I own. It just makes such a satisfying thwack. I think that's a much more satisfying sound than any of the autos. It's just, I think, you know, if I was a burglar and I heard that sound, I think I'd be much more scared of it than I would be of any of the auto sounds. Because that just sounds like something that wants to do something bad. Love it. The only downside to it, I don't know. I'm going to say it's the only downside to it, but I've gotten so used to it now that I guess it doesn't bother me. It is tip down carry only. All right. But it makes sense kind of for a tactical. This is definitely a tactical knife. I mean, it's called a Socom Elite. It's definitely meant to be. But this is a knife that I think flexes Microtechs fit and finish better than any of them. I saw a video from somebody who I can't recall. Somebody will post down below. He doesn't post videos anymore. He was disassembling it, took all the screws out of his, and it still acted exactly the same. Like, until you pulled the scales apart, it still was functioning just fine. They are just so well put together. The tolerances are so excellent. Oh, that noise! Oh my God, it makes me happy. It makes me so happy. I love the Socom Elite. And the only reason I didn't put it higher, honestly, I think is just because, you know, it's a manual Microtech, and I have a lot of manual knives I like, and I still, even though I do really like the manual, like the Sigil, didn't make it on here, but I do like the Sigil a lot as well. I've only gotten a chance to handle one of those for a couple weeks, but it's still I just still think of them more as an OTF company. So that's kind of what it looks. So the top two are OTFs. So yeah, the OTF company I talked about, only 2 of the 5 are OTFs. And these 2 are going to be series of knives. And I'm not just going to pick one individual. I'm going to do kind of the whole series, because I think that's the more fair way to go. And again, this was a coin flip between the top 2. I really couldn't decide. And in second place, and honestly, I did the coin flip, but when I really thought more about it, yeah, the coin was correct on this one. The LUDT and the Socom Elite, I don't know. I don't know which side of the coin was correct, but this one, I do think it was correct. Number 2 is the Trudon series. So this is my Combat Trudon Hellhound and the regular Trudon in purple. These are the 2 that I own. These are both mine. I love the Trudon. I do not have the mini Trudon. That one just didn't really kind of blow my skirt up, so I didn't go after one. But in retrospect, Southern just said, "Oh, I should have sent you one of those too," and he didn't. But it would have been cool to have here in the picture. But I've seen them. I don't know. I think I like these are probably my favorite of the Trudon series. So these are a little bigger, a little bulkier than the Ultratech series that they're known for. You're looking at between for a Trudon about $300 for the mini one, up to about $460 or so for a regular Combat Trudon, but most of them are a lot more than that. You're looking at I think this one was $682. This is a Hellhound with the I'm sorry, 460 is for the regular Trudon. If you're looking at one of the big Combat Trudons, yeah, it's $680 and up. This is $682 with the Hellhound and all that. So they're pretty expensive. Let's just get don't count on my prices exactly. They're a bit more expensive than the Ultratechs. They are a bit thicker, a bit beefier in the hand. I love the Hellhound blade, by the way. All these come in so many different blade shapes. You will see, especially, all the ones you're going to see here, the OTFs. The outsides, not as much. I think the Socom Elite only comes in a couple, and then some serrated options. But I love the look of the Hellhound blade. You'll notice as we go on, I'm not a fan of double-edged blades. Most of these all come in double-edged blades. That's just not my jam. But this is big and silly and kind of dumb, but I really like it. Distressed finish on both of these, you'll notice. I love the distressed finish because it comes pre-beat up. You don't have to worry about scratching it. That's great. I had a friend of mine who used to collect pretty expensive cars, and as soon as he got one, he'd drive off the lot and he would scratch it in a place that no one would see except him, just so that it had its first scratch. All right, I don't do that, but I'm very happy to purchase knives that are pre-scratched. That's basically what these are. Love the distress finish, but yeah, the Trudon is just in a lot of ways like the Ultratech. Action is very, very similar, but they just, for me, they fill the hand a little bit better than the Ultratech. One thing I don't like about the standard Trudon is that the pocket clip lands on the ridges here, so it's a little bit of a taking it out of your pocket. It's top rate sound effects you're getting there, but yeah, I like the way it feels in my hand a little bit better. This is probably my most carried Ultratech that I own, is this purple with Trudon with the standard drop point, apocalyptic finish, and the distressed finish. All their knives that have glass breakers, I wish they just didn't have them. I know there are places you can get replacements for them, and you can get the tool to take the glass breaker out, but yeah, I need to get off my butt and do that on a lot of mine instead of just sitting here and continuing to complain about it. But Trudon is a very, 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 very close number 2. Honestly, the price, they are a bit more expensive than number 1, which you can probably already figure out what number 1 is. So without further ado, let's get to number 1, and it is going to be, I think, pretty obvious by process of elimination if you know anything about Microtechs. It is the Ultratech series. So you have the Ultratech, the UTX 85, and the UTX 70. So I've had multiple UTX 85s. This is at least my second one. The 70 is insolent and does not want to stand up pretty for the camera, but you can see it's just very small. I've had multiple UTX 85s, and I thought, God, it's a great EDC size. Part of the reason why I got my first UTX 85 was Birdshot 4 did a video about that it was the perfect EDC OTF, and it is in size wise. I think it might be. This is of course the Bounty Hunter version, because Mandalorian, so Boba Fett, all that stuff. I really do like this a whole lot. They do almost every knife you've seen here of the OTFs, all the Trudons, all this they do in the Bounty Hunter. Just cool. If you're a Star Wars nerd, it's just cool. But anyway, I really like the UTX 85, but I never had an Ultratech or a UTX 70. Wound up getting this in a trade, and this is one of the loaners from Southern Edges. So I wasn't. I got this mostly for. I was planning on keeping it, but I got it for size comparisons because I'm doing more and more OTF reviews, and who can deny that the Microtech Ultratech is kind of the OTF by which others are judged, whether it's good or bad or whatever. It's like kind of the OTF. Like when people picture an OTF in their head, whether they know it or not, it's probably an Ultratech. And I got it with the Tanto blade. And you know what? I love it. I carry it a lot. I said the Trudon is the one I carry the most right now, but I haven't had this as long, and it's creeping up quick. It's just the ergos are really good for being a slender handle. Again, the Trudon fills the hand a little bit better, and I love that Tanto blade, of course. But that's neither here nor there, really. And it's broken in really well. It just carries well. It just looks good, and I don't know, it's reached that level where there are some knives that are just cool to have in your pocket. They just make you feel good just because it's that one. I would say like the Chris Reeve Sabenza, just like knowing that you have a Sabenza in your pocket, you feel this is just stupid man brain stuff, but you feel like I have something really cool in my pocket. I think an Ultratech is that way too. I have a Microtech Ultratech in my pocket. It's cool. It's undeniably like a cool knife. And I think it's definitely reached that level of coolness. And I'm really enjoying this thing. Like I said, I got it for a size comparison knife, and I'm using the hell out of it. I already said I love the UTX 85. That was my first foray into the Ultratech series. The 85 and 70 mean percentage of size versus the Ultratech. But then I got this little UTX 70 loaner from Southern Edges, and man, it's cool as hell. I do have to say it's a little big thing, but I really do like it. I previously had experience with the Cali Legal one that I got in a trade that I sold pretty quick because they had the Cali Legal shorter blade. But man, it's just a cool little fifth pocket knife. I really like it. I have actually just EDC'd this as my only knife a couple of times just to kind of get to know it, and it works for the kind of stuff that we honestly do, not the kind of stuff that we pretend that we do, but opening boxes, cutting string, stuff like that. It worked perfectly fine. One thing I do want to do with this, if I do wind up keeping it, which is pretty likely, I'm probably just going to buy it. I do want to remove the glass breaker and have no pocket clip, and I have a little leather slip, and I think instead of putting a little small slip joint in that thing, it's a little leather slip that holds a pen and a slip joint. I think it'd be cool to have an automatic in there instead of a slip joint, and this would be perfecto for that. So I do think I'm probably going to do that, just because it's a cool little thing to have. It's just, I don't know, I was surprised how enamored I was with the UTX 70. Not quite as surprised as I have been with the Ultratech, but still. So the Ultratech series has to be number one. It is. They're coming to take me away. Sorry, my ride's here. Old comedy joke. There were sirens in the background if you couldn't hear them. I have a better microphone now, so I don't know what you guys hear and what you don't. So I'm probably commenting on things that you don't even hear. But yeah, the Ultratech is the Microtech. You gotta call it that. So yeah, number one of my favorite is, and just the variants you can get in these, and price wise too, by the way, about $230 for one of the UTX 70s, up to about $294, $300 for one of the more kind of standard Ultratechs, and then again, Marfione customs and all the crazy stuff. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This was tough, I will say. I knew what my 5 were, but putting them in order was really rough. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.